Good afternoon and happy hour to everyone, ladies, gentlemen, anyone of every orientation. My name is Jack Holder. I am the editor of the Great Commandment Comics Anthology. And joining me today, we have Matt Space Viking Crafton.
Hello.
We're talking about his piece called Worthy, his own work in art, space, and mythology. We're going to delve straight into what it means to be a follower of the pagan faith, or Norse faith, I want to be more correct in, and what it means to try and reckon with these faiths in a manner that is a lot more compassionate today. So, first off, let's answer this question. Who are you guys? What is the Great Commandment? What are you talking about? So, the Great Commandment is a comics anthology dealing with, wonder of wonders, commandments. Commands pervade and invade every aspect of our life, from the high and mighty, you must love your neighbor as yourself, or we the people in order to form a more perfect union, to the more common and everyday that we always feel, help me move this couch. You need to take the bins in. Stop interrupting me. To the lowbrow but truly beloved and heartfelt, live long and prosper and be excellent to each other. But just as much as these commands are important for what they say, just as important is our response, yes, but what does that all mean? And thus you have the Great Commandment. Over 24 comics from more than 50 creators answering that very question of what is life like, what could it be, and maybe even what should it be like. We have samurai Akitas defending their homes from all manner of beasts while quoting Sun Tzu. We have Taoist hippos trying to figure out the best way to eat a banana while discussing the suffering that is life. We extend from the atrocities at the southern US border all the way up to the very halls of Valhalla. And speaking of, we have the person who wrote and illustrated about Valhalla, Matt Space Viking Crafton. He is a freelance artist and writer, and he is here today talking about his own faith, his own comics, and his own art. So, Matt, thank you so much for being on with us. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your artwork?
Hi, yeah, it's a lot of it is in the name. I'm glad to be here, by the way, Jack. And Space Viking, that's been my life since I was like 10 years old. I couldn't stop sketching on my homework growing up, and here I am. And yeah, I really love to tell stories and stories about space and science and anything Norse related, like Norse mythology, or even general pagan stuff, mythology in general too. But I definitely drifted way deep into the Viking side of things, or the Norse side of things, but Vikings more what they're known as. Um, let's see. No, yeah, this piece that I worked on for the Great Commandment, it's meant a lot to me because I've never actually done depictions of Valhalla. Like I've always had images in my mind of what I thought it looked like, but yeah, no, I've always had this fantastical view of the mythological world and things beyond death and beyond what we could become. And I try to depict that in my artwork and in the stories that I tell.
Wonderful. And in this piece, Worthy, you really delve into the deeper aspects of faith. I don't think it's incorrect to say that you follow the Norse faith, or would it be more correct to say pagan?
It's more correct to say pagan, mostly because like I tend to word it as I'm an agnostic pagan Buddhist because I feel like it had to have been a team effort. I feel like the power that we're looking for elsewhere is actually within us. And then I also don't really worship or practice because I don't feel like any gods or God would ever really need that. And I understand that it's not necessarily about that, but that's just my personal view.
Absolutely. And then what we have today with Worthy, you do talk about something that you are very passionate about because as we were going through the submissions process, you're like, okay, I wanted to do something exploring my own faith and really dispelling some misconceptions that you felt were commonplace right now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Um, Actually, can you rephrase the last bit?
Yes. So let's talk about what Worthy is about.
Okay. So, what Worthy is about, trying to sum it up as good as I can, because it's a huge subject. It's about the idea that it doesn't matter your background, your genetics, your upbringing, what you did in life. It's more about how you did it, of how you end up in Valhalla. It's like, were you a decent human being? Did you try? Did you do your best? Like, it doesn't matter if you failed. Did you do your best? And it certainly doesn't matter what creed or race you come from. Like, it's such a big idea to me that why would it be only the warriors? Why would it be only those who had fought courageously in battle that get to go to Valhalla? That cuts out children who died early. That cuts out people who were just a tanner or a leather worker or a blacksmith. Like, if you were just a blacksmith, that sort of says that, oh, you didn't die in battle. You died of a heart attack while you were working on a sword. Then you don't get to Valhalla. That never sat right with me. I was like, that can't possibly be it. So I dug into the Poetic Edda and looked, and nowhere does it say that you had to be a warrior or you had to be a certain race. It just said that you had to live your life courageously. It was about how you lived, not about how you died.
And I think this really strikes at the heart of what people fear with Norse mythology and pagan faith. Uh, we were talking about this a little bit earlier before we jumped on, and especially during the creative process of actually making the conscious decision of talking about race uh, in art, especially in presenting it, because if you want to think about who is using Norse mythology the most actively and not for fun, but for to make statements,
Mm-hmm.
they're not. If they look like you and me, they're not exactly saying nice, happy-go-lucky things. It's generally people like Stormfront or the Proud Boys. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you're not aware who those are. These are pretty out and out white supremacists.
Yep.
Uh, you took issue with that.
I've taken issue with that since the Lives Matter movement blew up. I've took issue with that 10 years ago when I was at a comic convention. No, that 10 years ago, I was at a farmer's market. That was when I first started selling art. And I had some gentlemen come up to my table and say that that's not right. That wouldn't be like that. And he said, I had to ask her, how do you know? Were you there 900 years ago when they were talking about this stuff around a campfire? Like, there's no proof that it was for anyone or anything in particular. And ever since that day, I've thought, how do I help? How do I help bring this forward? Of it's not for anyone in particular. It's about belief. It's about how you whatever you want to go with for how to be a decent human being to other humans really doesn't matter. The symbolism doesn't matter, and when it comes to the Norse pagan religion, it has been co-opted by many of the white supremacists to mean that like that's our culture, it's ours, and they try to claim it and say that that's for us, and no one else is allowed in, almost like a gatekeeping situation. And I've always had issue with that. I've always said that, like, if Odin, the All Father of all mankind, that doesn't exclude anybody. That's everyone. That's women, children, any race, any upbringing. Like, if you want to really follow that religion, then you need to actually stand by the word all, and that it should mean everybody. And that's why I wrote Worthy the way I did. Originally, it was just going to be someone from, like, I had this idea in my head for a long time. Originally, it was going to be just a retail worker, but then I met my friend Jacob, who we just clicked on all Marvel stuff. He loves Norse mythology. We used to joke about Heimdall calling us into work, and Jacob is African American, and he was just as much a believer in Norse mythology as I was, and it always just warmed my heart that here's a person that I didn't think I was going to get to meet, and I based the character and Worthy off of him because we worked in a pretty rudimentary job where we don't do courageous things in that job. And I thought, what about us? What if we died? What if we fell off a truck? Would we go to Valhalla? And I said, yeah, we would, because we were kicking ass still. We were trying to do the best we could, you know? So and Odin would be like, yeah, come on. You deserve to be here. You know? That's exactly why I wrote Worthy the way I did, because I was so tired of people saying that Jacob wouldn't get to go to Valhalla because he wasn't white. And I'm like, no, bullcrap. He would definitely go.
This seems to really strike also at extreme originalism. Like, oh, the only people who this possibly could be for it are the people that were around at that specific time and were involved in those specific jobs. And I'm like, guys, apply this to Christianity as well. Not following the Old and New Testament laws and commandments to the letter is really hard. Don't plant two different crops side by side in your field. Have a great job with that in the agricultural business. Don't wear a poly cotton blend. That is against the commandments of the Lord our God. You can sell your daughter into slavery. What we are seeing here and what you're advocating for, Matt, is the exact same thing that we've been advocating in Christianity of the word is alive and well and continue. It is not just a text from 2,000 years ago, from 1,000 years ago with the Poetic Edda that is rooted to that time period, and there are no more truths to be discovered. It is only from that particular time period.
Yeah, the no more truths left discovered. That always hits me hard whenever someone tries to say that they figured it out 1,000 years ago. You know, how many generations have come and gone since then? How many thoughts? How many inventions, science that's been done? Like, where's the commandment about cutting people off in traffic? You know, because everybody hates that. I don't know anyone that likes that. I'm pretty sure Moses would have had that written on there too, right?
Dude, you're in New Hampshire. I'm in Massachusetts. That is, if that were a commandment, everyone in Massachusetts would be walking nervous. Cutting someone off in traffic isn't a sin. It's, I need to make my freaking exit.
I have driven through Boston. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, oh crap! I can't be defensive. I can't be kind. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to be kind here. I have to be a jerk in order to proceed.
I live outside of Boston. I can tell you who are the people from New Hampshire, who are the people, especially that are from Maine, because they are being a lot more nice. No, you can go. You can go. And you can tell the people just from outside Boston or in Connecticut or Rhode Island because they're laying on the horn. And you know what? The first 2 seconds after the light turns red, that is what's called a gray area.
We have that.
They are being a lot more nice. No, you can go. I think we have a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, a tiny bit there. My microphone's pretty good about echo detection, but sometimes it messes up.
All right. But let's also talk about the creative process in this, because Worthy is also, it is a beautiful story from just purely an art perspective. You really seem to think Valhalla is very green.
I feel like a lot of the Norse mythology that I've read, like the Poetic Edda, a lot of the rewrites, Neil Gaiman's most recent one, wow, he did a really good job with that, with the most recent rewriting of a lot of the stories. And in a lot of it, there's a reverence for nature. They like not necessarily worship nature as much as they recognized a lot of the Norse. I want to word this correctly. The people from the time period when this was becoming prevalent in Norway and in Scandinavia and places like that, they lived in what 6-month winters. So when the world came alive in the spring, it was a celebration. It was like the biggest thing when the world turned green. So I wanted to sort of show that in Valhalla that was always that way, which is why it was such a fantastic place to be, because it would no winters.
And then you actually get, what was it like designing Heimdall and Odin?
I didn't want to make Heimdall of African American complexion. I wanted him just to be like probably how he was written, back, because around when the people that were writing these, well, they weren't actually writing it. The Poetic Edda was written by Christian monks, I believe. It was mostly like campfire talk. It was like you'd tell the stories of Odin and Loki and Thor around a campfire or around, when you're prepping for battle. It wasn't necessarily written down, but they oh my goodness, sorry, I ADHD brain a little bit here. What was the question? Sorry.
Just delving into the creative process for especially Heimdall and Odin.
Oh yeah. So I just thought that they'd probably visualize Heimdall a little bit like themselves, which kind of goes into that race thing a little bit of like, were there any African descendants living among the Vikings 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago even? I thought maybe. Why not? Because they went everywhere. Like there's traces of Viking ships everywhere. And when it came to designing Heimdall, I thought maybe they still thought Heimdall, who welcomed people to Valhalla, was probably still, Caucasian complexion. So I went a bit away from the Marvel version because I just wanted some difference. I didn't want to copy Marvel in that regard. And then when it came to the armor, I wanted to do like sophisticated armor like you'd see from, I don't know, more like 500 years ahead. Like Asgard has been around for eons, so their armor wouldn't be just the chainmail and leather. They'd probably have actual armor, like what knights would have. So I went a bit more sophisticated with the armor design, and I wanted to make it so that he seemed a bit more stoic. And when it came to Odin, I wanted to make him look lavish, but not necessarily like kingly, because one of the main things about the Norse religion, common names, um, the Norse religion for me was that all the gods were very human. They were very on the level. They had flaws. They made mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and it made it so that when I was designing him, I wanted him to be just look like he could fight, like his armor was ready for battle, and not necessarily a king. But I did give him a little bit of a flare on his helmet just to show, like, oh yeah, that's Odin. And then of course the eye patch, just because he gave his eye for wisdom.
Yep. Uh, So this is the first anthology that you've done a comic for me, though you contributed multiple pieces for the Y Faith Comics anthology. But this is the first time you've done one during a time of COVID. And what was it like creating a piece of artwork? And I know you stream your commissions live.
Mm-hmm.
What is it like trying to attempt to bring art to life in the midst of a pandemic?
It's actually better than before the pandemic. It's been crazy when it comes to the amount of support, or the amount of like togetherness that the art community has had in this. Like everyone knows that artists get a lot of their work sold and looked at from gallery openings, from little exhibitions, art festivals, and comic conventions, and all sorts of different other gatherings. And it's always an event where there's lots of people. And all of those got canceled. And myself personally, I don't know if this is the same story for everybody else, but I had just like my emails blew up. I had like people messaging me all over the place. Like, how are you doing? Like, are you okay? Like, are you gonna be able to like have enough money this year? Like, I had like my own mother was like, I'll commission you. I'm like, Mom, no, you're fine. Like, jeez. And it was just like it's crazy for myself. COVID made it so that people were stuck at home more, and all they had were their own walls to look at, and suddenly they thought I might want something else on these walls. This was words from a friend of mine. I don't know if this is the case for everybody, but it was just kind of cool how he said that I need more artwork. I need art on these walls if I'm going to be looking at them more. And when it came to working through the pandemic on my art, it did create this aura of like, here I'm sitting at my computer, the world's falling apart outside, and I'm working on this piece, well, on your piece particular, um, of a mythical realm that could be out there in space in some shape or form, and we're here stuck on this planet in the midst of this craziness. It's like those two different perspectives of like the art world was treating me very well, but then also I was very aware of why and how the world had changed.
Right. Uh, do you have any tips for creators to go through this? Also, talk about streaming because I know that started during the pandemic, right?
Well, I've been streaming since 2015 or so. I started with Facebook though, and streaming on Facebook was very difficult. Like the algorithm, I'm sure you know, the way Facebook does its business, however you see that, doesn't help content creators in particular, especially when you use external links or if you're trying to create something that doesn't really help Facebook. So when I first started out, there was almost no traffic. I'd get maybe 2 viewers, and there was no community. Like when you start streaming on Facebook, the only community you have is the one you've already built. Um, so I tried YouTube. That was about 2018 when I said, this isn't working. I need to try something else. So I tried going to YouTube. Same problem, except different issues with like copyright music, like the way they do music. Like I listen to music when I stream. I love listening to music I want to listen to, and the copyright never seemed to agree with me on that. Like YouTube was notorious for that. They would shut down your stream 20 minutes in if you're doing anything that you couldn't, they thought you couldn't.
It is not just that. Like, I have been a part of church services, and you'll get copyright claims for, and this hymn that people say is copyrighted. And we'll go up to our organist, and he'll be like, this hymn has existed since the 18th century. No one has a copyright on this. It is insane to actually say that. And I know we're streaming this live on Facebook, but we'll tell you, it's true.
Yeah, Facebook knows.
Yeah.
But so I found myself on Twitch around the end of 2019 or close to it, maybe about mid 2019. I was like, what the hell? Twitch is more for games, but let's try it. And I had no clue. There's a huge art community on Twitch. It was a virtual Comic-Con. It was like so many nerds, so many people that just gave a crap. They're like, "Oh, you're an artist, cool," and they would just start watching like randomly. And when it comes to the actual streaming of my art, it pushes you to it's accountability. You're live. They're watching you do it. So like if you are doing a bad job at art and you're trying to say, "Hey, I'm an artist," it says it right there on your page. Your brain's on this constant like push of like do a good job, and not necessarily in a toxic way. More of just like you don't want to let your viewers down.
Sorry. Problems of live stream is you can't edit out car backfiring.
Oh, it's all good.
But I love being able to just I've watched way too much Twitch streaming, especially for someone on this side of 30, not 40, not yet.
I'm 32 though. Don't worry, I understand.
But it is one of those things that you want to just put on and like be in the background. I Twitch stream Smash Brothers. I Twitch stream Overwatch, Apex Legends, and you also do video games as well to spice it up and switch things up on occasion.
Yeah, Mondays and Thursday nights we do video games, and lately it's been we've been calling it Spooptober because we're just doing games that they're not even scary. That's why we say spoop instead of spook, because like they're just when you're with a group of people playing the game, it just becomes a lot less scary.
Oh, and
yeah, I've been doing the games on Twitch as well, which it brings in more people into the follower list. Like I actually just reached 300 followers on there, which is pretty awesome.
what's the? Do you want to post the link in the comments?
Oh, I'd love
to. And while that is going on, while he is dropping all of his handles and everything else, I will take us to what is called the QVC portion of the interview, because Matt and I are in fact selling our work on Kickstarter. Another wonderful platform that without which I definitely personally wouldn't be able to survive as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
We have raised over $3,000 already from 73 amazing backers. Yeah, I am on this one. This is amazing. This is my most successful Kickstarter that I've run ever. Every other Kickstarter I've run has had a 2 to start it off. We are trying to raise 5,000, and it is a really good book that you want to dive into. Do you want to read about Valhalla and what it means to be really worthy? Matt's shaking his head. Yes, of course you do. You can get The Great Commandment on Kickstarter right now. You can also get the deluxe version, which has added artwork. I'm still trying to get Matt to do some more artwork for it, so hopefully.
I can.
If you want to see more comics in that vein, we have the first anthology, Why Faith, is on there as well. We also have prints from people throughout the anthology that you really should be checking out, because this is one of those books that I've been talking with people all week, and I think Russell said it best. This is the kind of book that doesn't sell as well, and that's a damn shame, because it's really important.
That's true.
Because this is the second anthology I've run. and these are based on interfaith and personal awareness and growth. Uh, if you are a Christian like me, and you're hoping to pick this up to give it to your son who's asking you all these uncomfortable questions so they shut up and just accept everything, I would recommend you find a different book because we have a Space Viking right over there who says this is the perfect book for him to be a part of because I'm not sitting here going, everything you say is wrong. How dare you say you're an agnostic, pagan Buddhist?
How dare I? The audacity.
This is a book that is the Why Faith and the Great Commandment are anthologies based on raising awareness and raising good questions and helping you find answers for yourself through really amazing artwork from Space Vikings, from people from all over the world, from Argentina to Spain to Singapore to right here in the United States. Oh, and if you want some free stuff to really check out and enjoy, you can totally follow Matt on twitch.tv so you can get notifications on when he goes live, and you don't have to pay him, and he's actually still okay with that.
Donations welcome.
Appreciate you pay. All right. Matt, what do you want others to take from not just Worthy, but the Great Commandment, or maybe even from this year? Because this is a year that feels like it has taken so much from us. What do you want people to take?
Holy shit. In a sentence?
No, expand, wax poetic.
Well, I'm going to start. Poetic. Oh my goodness. Let's see. The world feels like it's falling apart, but in actuality, that's what the media wants you to feel because it just gives them more money. And what's really more important, that we're stronger together. That's what I'm learning. I'm learning that the more stuff that happens that makes you feel like everything's out of control is all the more reason to stick together and don't give up. That's the biggest thing I've taken from this year, from so many things that have happened to me, is that nothing is worth giving up. There's always more around the corner, and even though this year is terrible, it's going to end. The year is going to flip to the next year, and it's up to us to make sure that next year isn't worse. When it comes to the Great Commandment, it's been an awesome project to work on, mostly just to be a part of it. Like you've given me a voice. The project has given me a voice to say something that I've wanted to say for a very long time. It's been incredibly important to me to say this too. That just do your best, and I'll meet you in Valhalla. You know? And
Meet you in Valhalla seems like the perfect way to end. So I'm going to put the link right here as we wrap up the Great Commandment anthology down below. It is available. If you have any further questions or comments that you want to ask me or ask Matt, first off, ask him on Twitch. He will answer if he's in the middle of a commission. If he's in the middle of gaming, he will answer.
Oh my goodness.
I have done that to you. You know that.
Well, it was just funny the other night we were playing Baldur's Gate and someone was talking about trucks and I stopped everything to give them my opinion on the Chevy Colorado. And I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? We're playing a game. Like I let them interrupt for that. So yeah, interrupt me for anything, really.
No, and you get like bits, or I think that's the correct terminology for Twitch, and you
Yeah,
really just for watching over extended period.
yeah, it's the bits are like their small donation thing. Like it's akin to playing music on the street corner and you have your hat out and someone tosses some change. That's what the bits are. And then there's the donation pool, and then there's subscriptions. Like there's bonuses to subbing to the channel, and those
Yeah.
are like $5 a month subscriptions. So that's where all the revenue comes from, if at all.
And you can have a lot of fun at Matt's expense on Twitch.
Especially during. Oh, do you mind if I plug something?
Go ahead.
As I said earlier, we reached 300 followers. To celebrate that, we're doing a what I call a chat suggestion stream on November 6th. I was gonna do it on the 3rd, but I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna be drinking and trying to forget life on November 3rd, so I switched it to the 6th. Um, what we do during that stream is you suggest something in chat free of charge, and I draw a 10-minute sketch of whatever you suggest me to draw.
Please tell me we're keeping things semi PG-13.
Semi. My friend who plays games with me, Elder, promises he's gonna make me draw things that are not appropriate, but I've been telling him that we need to try, but he's like, nope, and I'm like, God damn it. But it is gonna be PG-13.
Good.
The chat might not be.
No, the chat is never PG-13. I have been on there. I have contributed to the rated R ratings.
Mm-hmm.
But that is what makes them fun, and that is what I love about streaming. I wish I could do it, but when you're a writer, people don't like watching people type out on a keyboard the same way they like seeing art come to life.
True. I do have a writer friend who he's also doing comic books, but he will occasionally do writing sprints on stream, and that he maybe pulls maybe like 1 or 2 viewers for those. So unfortunately it's just not an entertaining thing.
It's
As
not.
it is for the writer. Like personally, whenever I work on my novel, I'm in it, but it's so hard to give that to another person live on camera.
Yeah, no. I am a writer. I love writing. I love being in this life. It looks boring as hell. It does.
It's not boring up here though, right?
It's not boring up there. And when people read it, when you've gone through the editing process and everything else, it looks great. It does not look fun being forced to look at it on the page. So I am not seeing any more questions or comments for myself or Matt, so I think we are going to call that. Once again, the link below will take you to the Great Commandment Comics Anthology. We are open to raise less than 2,000 to go. That is just a few more books away. Not a few. I am a liar. But I hope that if you haven't yet, you will check out the link, check out the Great Commandment, realize that you really want to find out about getting into Valhalla, and get 1 book and get 5 more for all of your friends. So
get 10.
Get 100.
20.
Thank you all so very much for being a part of this. Tomorrow, same time, same place, I will be with Bryn Ziegler. And we are going to be going from the halls of Valhalla to a train ride and talking about the proper niceties in there. I've actually been looking forward to this for a long while, because just like wanting to talk about Valhalla, if you've ever lived in a major metropolitan, Bryn was able to actually say a ton of things that you wish you could say. So thank you all so much. Follow Matt. Go on his website and commission him for $1,000 after you back the Great Commandment. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful rest of your weekend. Many blessings, and thank you so much. Bye.